Hi everybody, this is Fully Off and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to build this fully automatic shulker unloading system. Now when I say fully automatic, I mean fully automatic. There are no buttons, there's no starting and stopping, there's no standing here waiting to press buttons, there's no having to clear it out if it gets jammed, there's no having to sort out your empty shulkers from your full shulkers. Basically, you've been out mining, caving, fighting, resource gathering. You've got back to your base with loads of shulkers, some of them full, some of them empty. You don't want to stand there messing about putting things in chests manually, do you? You want to throw them all into a chest and then leave it. Well, that's exactly what you can do with this system. So I'm going to show you how to build it. Okay, so if you just want to jump straight in and start building this bad boy, then I'll put a link in the description below that takes you straight to the start of the tutorial. However, if you want to see what it does and how it does it, then stick around, I'll show you that now. So I've just popped over to the naked version of the build, the version without the paraphernalia on the front of it, just to show you what it does before I go into the inner workings of it. So you come back from your trip out and then you just throw everything you've got, these are all my shulkers, everything you've got into the top trap chest. Now with it being a trap chest, you can throw things in there, and if you throw your pick in or your tools or something that shouldn't be in there, you can easily take it out. Now you only want to be throwing shulker boxes in this chest. If you throw non-shulker boxes in there, it will jam up. It won't break it, but it will jam it up. So really, you need to be just throwing shulker boxes in there. But you don't have to sort them out. You don't have to go through making sure that they're full or empty or what's in what. You just throw them all in the top. And then it starts working. And if there's something in the shulker box, it reads a signal and it empties the shulker box. When it's emptied, it pops it out. If there's nothing in the shulker box, it just pops it out. Now all of your empty shulker boxes are going to come to the front. They're going to be all stacked in this box, in this chest at the front here, all empty ones. And all of your stuff that's being filtered out goes through to the output chest or off to your main storage facility or your sorting system or wherever you want to send it, really. But all of this is stuff that was in the in your shulker boxes and is now in your storage system. And what have you done? You've just thrown a load of shulkers into a chest. It's as simple as that. And then you just come along and collect up all your all your empty shulker boxes again, and you're ready to go and gather some more gear. Okay, I'm not going to go into massive detail about the about what it does and how it works because it would get pretty boring. I'm sure it would. And if you're not interested in knowing at all how it works, then click on the description below and go straight to the tutorial of how to build it. But if you want to know roughly how it works, basically you throw your as you've seen before, you throw your shulkers into the top trap chest. As they're filtering down through to the dispenser down there to start with, a signal is taken from this hopper, and that starts the system initially. It goes into this monostable circuit here, which is your bog standard monostable circuit on a sticky piston. The first signal comes off and fires that dispenser, which has now got your shulkers in it. So that fires out your shulker for the first time. The second signal goes around to this pulse extender, which turns off that torch, which turns off that repeater, which is currently locking the hopper underneath the shulker that's already been fired out into the system that's now sat there. If there's something in it, it'll start unloading, and there'll be a signal being pulled out of that. Being pulled out by that comparator there. If it's empty, the pulse extender will run out, and that will turn this light back on again, which will fire this second monostable circuit here, which will then fire the piston, breaking the shulker that's already in there and dispensing a new shulker. Once the shulker in there is empty, if it's got something in it to start with, the signal from that comparator there, which is currently powering that pulse extender, will again turn on that torch, which has got the torch turned off, will then light the torch, and which will start the system again. So it's not as complicated as I'm making it out to be. Basically, the top and bottom of it, if a full shulker is dispensed, it'll unload the shulker first, then break it, and then dispense a new shulker. If an empty shulker is dispensed, it'll do a check to see if there's anything in it. If there's something in it, great, it'll unload. If there's nothing in it, it'll break it and then dispense another shulker. So there's no need to stand here pressing buttons. There's no need to stand here making sure that the shulker that's in there is full. There are no lights to say that it's unloading or broken. You just throw your stuff in and then you leave it. It's a throw in and forget system. And once everything's been sorted out, once everything's been sucked out of your shulkers and they've all been dispensed, they'll all get put into this chest at the front for you to collect and go off and do some more exploring. And all of your stuff will be shot out the back. And as I say, you can filter that off to a sorting system, to a storage system. You can filter it off to a furnace array, to anywhere you want. And you can also, if you want to, if you've got farms, if really efficient farms that pack food and stuff like that into shulkers to start with, into a shulker storage system, you can have those shulkers then filtered straight over to here and then have them automatically unload into your main storage system, if that's what you want to do. So hopefully I've not bored you too much. So let's get on with building this thing. Right, I'll put a screenshot of everything you need to build this thing on screen now. So pause the video if you need to. So firstly, you need to find yourself an area to build this thing. You need an area that is 8 wide by 6 deep. You won't have to dig down any, so you can build this at floor level. And you need to go to the front right hand side of the build, and you want to count in 3 blocks and put yourself down a chest. That's your main output chest. Then whip round the back of the chest, crouch and put a hopper pointing into that chest. And then you need to run a line of temporary blocks back a few. This is going to be your output, your line of output hoppers. So just do a line of temporary blocks there, then just break them. And then grab yourself a hopper or hoppers and do a line of hoppers pointing backwards out the back of your farm. Okay, so the front hopper, that hopper, needs to be pointing into the front chest. The second hopper, that one, needs to be pointing backwards. All these need to chain backwards out the back. If you've got that going into the front hopper, if you've got that doing that, it's just going to unload into the front chest. So front hopper facing forward, the rest of the hoppers chaining and facing backwards and going out the back of your farm. Okay, so next you want to grab yourself a normal piston and you want to put it on the third hopper facing forward. So every time it fires, it breaks whatever's on the second hopper there. So put it on that hopper there. You need to throw yourself down a temporary block and you need to put a dispenser, and this has to be a dispenser, on the right hand side. So it'll dispense out your shulkers onto that chest, onto that hopper there. Then you need to grab your block of choice, and this is going to be visible, so you need to make it a nice block. And you need to put a block there, and then you need to put blocks all the way down the front. And you want to do that. And then you want to completely cover all of these blocks at the top. Now here you can either put in some normal solid blocks, or you can stick in a bit of glowstone. We'll stick in a bit of glowstone and then a solid block at the front. Now the reason for those blocks being there is because when that piston fires, there's nowhere for the shulker to go, only forward. If those blocks weren't there and the piston fired, there's a good chance it'll fly off. It'll pop up on top of the piston. So those blocks are all the way around it, so the shulker's got nowhere to go but up to the front. So now you should have something that looks like that. So now we want to put in the chain of hoppers that's going to feed the shulkers in there in the first place. So you want to pop round to the right hand side, pop that block out that's above the dispenser, and you want to put 2 hoppers pointing straight down into that dispenser. Then around to the other side, and you want to put a hopper there and then a hopper there. Okay, so the first hopper feeds into the next hopper, feeds into that hopper, feeds down into those into that dispenser. And on top of this first hopper, you need to put yourself down a trapped chest, and that's going to be your main input chest. So anything that goes in there is going to filter straight down into your dispenser. So that's what we've got now. Okay, now it's time to start putting down some redstone. So what you want to do now is grab yourself a block. Now these blocks aren't visible, but I'm going to still use quartz. You can use whatever you like. You want to come to the front again to where your main chest is, and you want to count over 2 blocks to this line here. Then you want to count in 3 and put down a block, and then a block next to it and a block next to that, and then on top of the middle one you need to put down another block. So you've got that shape there. Now on this block, the right hand block, you need to put yourself down a comparator. That comparator is going to pull a signal out of that shulker box that's in there. And on the other side of that block pointing into the block, you need to get yourself a repeater. And you can leave it on 1 tick. Then whiz around to the back, and on the back of this block you need to put yourself down a redstone torch. Like that. Now grab yourself another block again, and you want to put another block there. Okay, so you've got your torch, you've got a space, then you've got a block. Then on top of that block, you want to put yourself down a blob of redstone, and then a blob of redstone there, and then a repeater there. And then you want to put a solid block just there. Okay, so you've got your redstone torch, you've got a space, you've got a block, you've got redstone dust on that block, that block, that block, leading into a repeater. Leave that on standard 1 tick, and that goes into a solid block. That has to be solid. It can't be opaque, can't be a half slab, can't be a stair, can't be glass of any kind. It's got to be a solid block, because that locks the hopper that the shulker box is standing on. Okay, once you've done that, you want to whiz yourself back round the front, and you might have to knock out these 2 blocks here for a second, because you need to put a comparator just there. That's going to read a signal from that that hopper once something goes through it. So it's going to pull a signal out of there. Next to that, you need to put yourself down a repeater. Now this has to be on 2 ticks. That goes into a solid block that has a redstone torch on top of it. Then you can pop those 2 blocks back in again. So now you've got something that looks a little bit like that. Next, you want to get yourself up to the top, and you need to put down a comparator coming off of this second hopper. So not the front one, but the one next to it, that one there. You need that running into a sticky piston. You need to put a sticky piston on that block there, facing upwards, with a solid block on top of it. Okay, then next to that, you need to put yourself down another solid block, and on top of that block, you need to put a repeater on 2 ticks. Again, that has to be on 2 ticks. Now you need to grab yourself another solid block, and you need to put a solid block directly above that redstone torch, and you need to put another torch on top of that. It'll go out because obviously it's powered from underneath. Then you want to put a solid block there and there, and put redstone dust on both of them. Now you need to put a solid block on the back of that repeater. So you need to put a block so it's there. Okay? And then on top of that block, you need to put another blob of redstone dust. So now any signal that comes through this monostable circuit is going to go down there and it's going to power that repeater. Now we need to make a simple pulse extender. So grab yourself a slab and you want to put a slab, you want to put 6 slabs down now. You want to put 3 here, 1, 2, 3, and then you want to put 3 there. Okay, then you need to put dust there and there. Grab yourself a comparator and put a comparator facing backwards, and then whiz round and put a comparator facing forwards next to it. So you've got one facing one way and one facing the other way. And then you need to put down 2 more blobs of dust at the other side. And that's your pulse extender. And we're using slabs because in a second we're going to be putting down a dropper here for another monostable circuit, and we don't want these slabs budding it or messing about with it, which is why we use slabs here and not solid blocks. Okay, so now you should have something that looks like that. Okay, so now we need to make our second monostable circuit over the back. So get yourself over to the back, grab yourself a dropper. Now this needs to be a dropper, not a dispenser, and you need to put a dropper just there. Okay, so you've got your pulse extender. Just to the left of the pulse extender, you need to put yourself down a dropper, and then facing back into that dropper, you need a hopper. So anything now that gets spat out of the dropper goes into the hopper, gets shot back in again, which is a different monostable circuit. And then just above that torch there, you need to put a solid block. Has to be a solid block, can't be a slab, and you'll hear it click. And then inside this dropper, you need to throw yourself down an item. Any old item, doesn't matter what. Okay, once you've done that, you need to grab yourself a slab, and you need to put a slab just there, and then you need to put a solid block on the back of the piston that's just there. Now on the slab, facing away from the dropper, you need to put yourself down a comparator. And on top of that block, you need to put yourself down a blob of redstone dust. Now just moving a little bit further over to the left, grab your blocks again, your solid blocks, and you need to put solid blocks there, and there. Okay, so you've got 4 blocks there, and then you've got another block, solid block, next to the dispenser. Now on top of this block, that block there, you need to put yourself down a repeater. Then you want to put yourself down a blob of redstone dust, and then another repeater there facing into that block, and you want that repeater on 4 ticks. Okay, so you've got your monostable circuit, you've got your dropper, and then you've got your hopper facing back into it. You've got your comparator pulling a signal out of your hopper, a bit of redstone, and then a repeater on 1 tick, some dust, and then a repeater at right angles on 4 ticks, pointing into a solid block that's going to power your dispenser. So now we've got that. Now we need to put down the second redstone line that's taken from the initial monostable circuit. So grab yourself a slab again, and this definitely needs to be a slab. Put your slab just there. Then grab yourself your repeaters, and you need to put a repeater there and a repeater directly on top of that hopper. And both of these need to be on 4 ticks. Now grab yourself a slab. This one's got to be a slab. Otherwise it's going to mess up your monostable circuit, and you need to put a slab there. Then grab yourself some solid blocks and put 3 solid blocks there, and then a solid block 1 down. Okay, so you've got your 2 repeaters on 4 ticks, you've got a slab, and then you've got 3 solid blocks, and then a solid block down 1. And you want to put dust on top of all of these blocks. Okay, so now once that monostable fires, it's going to fire this line of redstone, which is going to fire that dispenser. Now you might have noticed that that links up there, and we don't want that. So all you need to do is put yourself a solid block above it, which cuts off the redstone signal. And now that redstone signal only goes across the back and into the repeater that fires the dispenser at the front. Okay, so now you've got something that looks like that. Okay, well, if you've managed to get this far, then congratulations, you've done it. That's it. You've built yourself a fully automatic shulker unloading system. So now I guess we ought to give it a try to make sure it works. So grab yourself some shulkers. Throw them all in there. The system should start. And if there's something in the shulker, it'll unload it and then spit it out. If there's nothing in the shulker, it'll just spit it out. There are all your empties, and anything that was in them is now out the back and all sorted. Fabulous. Now all you need to do is cover the front however you want. Your build, your rules, as I always say. I can't tell you how to make it look pretty. That's entirely up to you. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A fully automatic shulker unloading system. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, everybody. If you have, please don't forget to leave it a like. And if you've really loved it, don't forget to subscribe for future tutorials. This is Frillioth, and I'm out of here.